Today's video is sponsored by the Wellness Company, and I really like this offering because after years of reporting from war zones around the world and other disaster areas, I've learned to take warnings seriously, especially when they come from credible people like Dr. Peter Marks, the former head of vaccines at the FDA. He just sounded the alarm on CNN recently about man made biological threats. Now, this isn't science fiction, it's real risk. And we're not nearly as prepared as we should be. Now, I know a lot of us are more skeptical these days of the system, and rightfully so, but that doesn't mean that we should let our guard down. In fact, these threats are getting more sophisticated, and ignoring them won't make them go away. That's why I've partnered with the Wellness Company to tell you about their Contagion Emergency Kit. It comes with 5 prescription meds like ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, Tamiflu, and a nebulizer, the kind of tools you'll want on hand before things go sideways. It's simple to get. Just fill out a quick online form and your kit shows up in a week or two. So go to twc.health/hotzone and use code HOTZONE to save $32 and get free shipping. We prep for every other kind of emergency, so this one's no different. Get yours now. U.S. residents only. Hey, everybody, one of the most dangerous places on earth right now is not Gaza, it's not Ukraine, it's the border between India and Pakistan. I can show you on the map right here, right up here in this corner, right here. This is a heavily contested area. India and Pakistan are not friends and have never been friends, and we're going to talk a little bit about that in this condensed live for the 8th of May, 2025. I'm going to go through this as quick as I can, try to get through in about 10 minutes. So if you don't have time to go watch the full 1 hour live that I just completed here on YouTube, you can go watch you can watch this one and get all the same data just compressed. Okay. So let's get into it. First of all, we got to talk about the history between Pakistan and India. They go back to 1947. Both of them were part of British India up until that point. And when the British decided they wanted out of the region, they just sort of haphazardly drew a line to separate Pakistan from India and made 2 different countries. The idea was that Pakistan would be for Muslims and the Hindus would live in India, and India would be a secular state. The problem was there were Muslims and Hindus all throughout both areas. And so what that led to was one of the largest human forced migrations in history. More than 15 million people were displaced and forced to either go north into Pakistan or south into India based on their religion. And it wasn't a friendly exchange. On both sides, they essentially tried to genocide the other group. So the Muslims tried to genocide the Hindus and vice versa. And over 1 million people died in that. And so that long-standing animosity lasts up until the present day. And that's why the Muslims in Pakistan do not like the Hindus in India and vice versa. Today, there are a lot of Muslims in India too, and they cause problems all the time. But since 1947, there have been 4 wars and dozens of flare-ups in violence across that dividing line between Kashmir and Punjab up here in this region. So every one of those, as far as I can tell, those flare-ups and wars were started by the Pakistanis. They were Muslims coming into India and murdering people, committing acts of terror, attacking whatever. And in every case, the Indians fought back and won. And the Pakistanis lost every single engagement, pretty much. So there was a first Kashmir War, which started in 1947, within months of independence. Then there was the second Kashmir War in 1965. There was another war in 1971, which led to the partitioning of Bangladesh from Pakistan. and that was the Indian army fought to help the Bangladeshis declare independence. There was a conflict called the Kargil conflict in 1999. Then there were those brutal terror attacks in 2008 in Mumbai, where Pakistani terrorists went into India, it went to Mumbai and committed massive multi-cell terror attack on the Indians, hundreds of people dead and wounded. Again, and that in that time, India probably should have gone to war with Pakistan, but chose not to, showed great restraint. So now the current escalation happened because of another terrorist attack where people from Pakistan went into India and murdered 26 tourists and somebody from Nepal in an Indian administered area of Kashmir. Now, India then struck targets in Pakistan, which it's claimed were terrorist infrastructure, and specifically said, we are not striking Pakistani military targets or government targets. We're only striking terrorist infrastructure. Nevertheless, Pakistan called it an act of war and shot back with ballistic missiles and artillery, some small arms and that sort of thing across that line of demarcation. And they are attacking, the Pakistanis are attacking Indian military targets. So now it's a war between militaries and not an action, a counterterrorism action by India into Pakistan. And that's bad. That's bad. There are reports of aerial dogfights between Indian jets and Pakistani F-16s with unconfirmed shoot downs on both sides and now some confirmed shoot downs. At least one F-16 was shot down from Pakistan, and the Pakistani F-16, and perhaps as many as 3 or 4 jets, maybe more, have been shot down on the Indian side. Some of the wildest dogfights that have been seen in decades happening in the skies over the Punjab up there. So it bears pointing out that Pakistan wouldn't have F-16s if it wasn't for the fact that the United States has been selling them these very advanced fighter jets for many years. I'm not sure how you feel about that, but it kind of gives me an icky feeling to think that starting with President Reagan in the 1980s, he sold the first batch of F-16s to Pakistan, trying to get them to be a check against Russian aggression in Afghanistan next door. But then since then, there have been more F-16s sold to them by Presidents Clinton, second Bush, Obama, and President Biden just last couple of years ago sold $460 million worth of parts for those F-16s to Pakistan as well. Now, what makes you kind of wonder, are we complicit in this aggression? I don't know. Now, let's talk for a minute about the military parity or lack thereof between these two countries. India, when it comes to personnel, has more than 1.5 million active personnel, 1.15 million reserves, and 2.5 million paramilitary forces, where Pakistan only has 650,000 active, 550,000 reserves, and 480,000 paramilitary forces. India has the second largest standing military in the world, and its large paramilitary force adds a layer of internal and border security strength that Pakistan can't match. They also can't match the budget. India spends 7 times as much money every year on their military. Again, the second largest standing military in the world. Pakistan spends 10.3 billion, India 73 billion. So economically, India can wipe the floor with them. As far as combat aircraft, India has twice as many combat aircraft. They have more high quality, high tech, advanced electronic warfare, and UAVs and drones as well. Pakistan's drones are Chinese junk, And the drones that India has purchased are from Israel, so they're very high quality. India's jets give it a huge edge, a 4.5 generation Rafael jets they've got. And they have, like I said, advanced electronic warfare. Now, F 16s are nothing to sneeze at. And if in the hands of a competent pilot, they can really do some damage without a doubt and can go head to head with aircraft that are even much newer than they are. However, probably up to half of Pakistan's F 16s are not in flyable condition at the moment. That's always the case with large air fleets. Now, as far as ground forces go, India has twice as many tanks, twice as many artillery. They have more missiles and higher quality missiles. So, as far as strengths go, India far outweighs Pakistan. Pakistan, on the other hand, is highly experienced in asymmetric mountain warfare and also has tactical nuclear weapons, which India does not have. So let's talk about nukes now. This is the most concerning part of this. India has 160 nuclear warheads, all strategic warheads. That means city killers or bigger. Pakistan has 165 nuclear warheads, both tactical and strategic. Tactical nuclear warheads would take out a portion of a city, but not the entire city. Doesn't matter. Either way, Pakistan is the only Muslim majority country on planet Earth to have nuclear warheads. And they probably should never have been allowed to get them, because if any country on Earth is likely to use a nuke, it would be Pakistan. And if they use a nuke, even though India has a no first use doctrine that says we will not instigate a nuclear war, but if somebody starts a nuclear war with us, we will finish it, meaning we'll go full send. We will send everything we've got. The problem is, if nuclear war breaks out between these two countries, it's not going to stay constrained to these two countries, because it will, number one, break the nuclear taboo that all nuclear countries have sort of abided by. Like, nukes are only for deterrence; they're not for actual weaponization or use in warfare. Because if one country uses them, they'll all use them, and the whole world will die. So, if that taboo gets broken, and we see Pakistan and India trading nukes, and the rest of the world doesn't get destroyed, well, then it becomes more likely that Russia will use tactical nukes on Ukraine, and then the United States will end up using nukes on Russia, and then it could spiral out of control very quickly. That's a Pandora box we do not want to see opened. But on top of that, studies show that if Pakistan and India go to nuclear war with each other, and it stays with them, it could, the amount of soot that gets thrown up into the atmosphere by those nuclear bombs could lower temperatures across the globe by 2 degrees. That's massive. That's going to affect everything from crop yields to flooding to monsoon season to everything. And it will likely bring global shipping to a halt. At least the whole logistics train is going to fall apart. So on and so forth. So if you're one of those people that says, I don't know why we're talking about India and Pakistan, I don't care about them, they can blow each other to sky high, and why would I care? Well, that's why you should care, because if they do, aside from the fact that tens of millions of people likely could die, and we could see a famine across the entire globe that could kill another billion or more, it will definitely make your prices go through the roof. And so, just in case, wouldn't hurt to stock up a little extra. A little extra food, a little extra toilet paper, stuff like that. Because if Pakistan and India go to full-scale war, there's a very good chance it ends up going nuclear. No question about that. And that will not be a regional problem. So consider stocking up on food and other supplies definitely push your leaders to take diplomatic action to stop this war before it gets out of control. This is the time for diplomacy. This is the time for forgiveness. But let's hope that that's something that the Indians and the Pakistanis can bring themselves to look at as an alternative to ending the world. Okay, folks, thank you very much for watching. That's your 10-minute update. Please go to chuckholton.com and support the channel there. You can also make sure that you're subscribed to this channel if you like these updates, and hit the like button on this video. And it tells YouTube more people need to see it. Thanks very much for watching. I'm Chuck Holton. We'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.